Welcome everybody to another episode of Uneducated MMA. I'm here with the. Let me introduce myself. I guess I'm the host with the most. Your boy Juan DeBrett. Uneducated MMA. You know me. We got, I guess, co-host Ariel. We'll call you. We're going with co-host.
Yeah. We're going co-host. We're going co-host.
All right, bet.
I'm tapped in.
All right, bet. And then we're joined here by our special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself, sir? The man, the legend.
Maddie McCauley.
Let's get it.
Welcome.
Man. Thank you, guys.
Listen, on this podcast, we're going to do things a little differently. I know 806 The Show, they look for sports experts. They search the globe for the men, the women, with all the knowledge in the world about sports. And me, I'm going to do things a little differently.
Okay.
I want the degenerates. Yeah. I want the scumbags. I want the ones up until 3 a.m. watching Chinese bare-knuckle boxing or something, whatever. Get me whoever. And you will get a seat right here on this podcast, I promise you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So let's get it cracking, guys. Today, we're going to talk about the big one, the holy one, the grandiose card of all, UFC 300. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've been excited since they announced this. Granted, I still got beef with Dana White in the way that he kind of announced this one. I feel like everybody was waiting, all the excitement to build up, and we were waiting for this big announcement. And then at like 3 a.m., he just gets on Twitter and was like, yo, 300 is about to be lit. It's this guy, and the other one. There you go.
Yeah.
I wanted a promo. I wanted like the big video shoot. You know what I mean? I wanted everything. They gave us that a little bit later. So go on YouTube and watch the promos that they released. It's a lot better, trust me.
Dana was over it. He was like, I'm podcasted out.
Oh,
yeah, I was about to say that.
You seen that, bro? He walked off
so
the Howie Mandel podcast.
Yeah, he seems so tired with like media, everything.
Did you see last week he was on a podcast with one of the announcers on like the UFC like broadcast team, and they were like, oh, what's up, Joe Rogan? And he was like, Joe Rogan. They were talking for like 30 minutes. He's like, you're not talking to Joe Rogan, right? I'm Dana White, right? I'm the Dana White.
That's hilarious.
I thought it was so funny, but I get it, man. I mean, after a while, you get tired of getting asked some of these stupid questions or the same question over and over again. So, you get burnt out.
I might have made that same mistake back in the day. Rogan, Dana White.
Dog, if you look at it, something about the UFC, there's a lot of bald men that just be walking around.
It's true.
I'm looking at you, John Anik.
John.
I'm looking at you, John Anik.
They got similar builds.
Yeah, man. You catch that man in the same black shirt next to each other, you won't know who's who, bro. I think
they look like brothers.
One's slightly taller than the other. They're like the Bruffer twins, bro. I swear to God.
Yeah, right?
Just both whites, bro. All right, so let's get it started. All right, so first of all, UFC 300 will be on April 13th. That's Saturday. So please tune in. Everybody watch. It's going to be great. I'm excited. I don't know how you're going to watch it. Legally, illegally.
Oh, we going to pay for it.
Yeah, we're definitely going to pay for it.
Best believe I'll pay
the fighters. Everybody pay. I'll be paying for sure. Anyway, so... we got, just to go over, I just want to I figured I've been asked a lot of questions when it comes to the fights. A lot of people don't know, surprisingly, how to get a hold of watching them and all that kind of stuff. ESPN Plus shows all the fights. You do have to subscribe. If you have Hulu, you can bundle it and you just go on there. You'll be able to watch the fights through there. But early prelims will start at 6:30. Prelims will start at 8 and the main card starts at 10. Now, I know that sounds like a lot. But when we get into this card, I want you guys to look at me right now. Yeah. This thing is going to be crazy. Yeah. This card is going to be a banger. I would not want to get off that couch for nobody. Yeah. Let me tell you. I'm going to leave the door open for whoever's going to pull up. You just walk in. I'm not getting up for you. For what? Not even during the commercial breaks, just in case.
Have your beer in front of you.
Yeah.
Snack in front of you, don't go nowhere.
You know those little arms you use to pick up trash? I'm gonna have one of those and just grab everything around me in case I need it. All right. So opening this card, I feel like at this point we should just get into the card and just start talking about it because we're gonna give this quick
breakdown. Amazing card,
Doug. All right.
So the prelims.
From the early prelims, listen, so Dana White had this announcement where he was just like, listen, 300 is going to be crazy. 300 is going to be a card where from the beginning you're going to be like, what? That guy's on the prelims? Why? And that's exactly what he did. Going up first in the early prelims to open up the show, we got Davison, Deuce de Guerra, Figueiredo versus Cody No Love Garbrandt. Listen.
No love.
We got two former champions, and I'm talking former in the sense of the last year, 2 years. Yeah. Well, at least one of them held a title. Shout out Davison. And they're going to use those two to open up the card. That says a lot to me.
That's crazy.
In my opinion, that's how you open up with a bang. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's like expecting like like the main event of WrestleMania, and that's the first one that you throw on there.
Yeah.
The thing with this card is like it's going to be difficult to try to see how we can get through this in such a short amount of time. We'll see how we go,
Right.
but they have so many cards that you can have your own card built around those fighters.
Yeah.
I'd argue, in my opinion, looking through this list, at least 3/4 of these people can have their own pay-per-view themselves, let alone like a fight night, you know? So that one to me is going to be a real good one. So we got Davison coming off a good win against Rob Font. He beat him via decision. You know what I mean? He's moving up in weight after having those like round and round fights when it came to him versus Brandon Moreno and that title that they just went back and forth. I've never seen 4 people go back and forth, or not 4 people, 4 times people fight over a title in my life. But that was wild. And so now he decided he's going to move up in weight. I will say, I don't know if you guys have seen him, but he is a very big, small man. Like, it's insane to see someone so muscular have to cut down to, I think he was fighting at like 135 or so. So I feel like for him, it just makes sense for him to move up in weight. Yeah. And then now I will say he's moving a lot. Like, he seems more comfortable. The weight cut doesn't look like it takes a toll. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes you see those guys get up on that scale and you're like, you look defeated already.
I couldn't imagine like
Conor McGregor at 145. He looked half dead.
It's when they get the cheekbones that just get so skinny. You're like, you haven't eaten in 3 years, bro.
Like a skeleton.
Do you know where sunlight is? It's crazy. Yeah, like,
lifeless.
So like that, like I feel like it's good that he's moving up. And then we got Cody Garbrandt who just beat Brian Kelleher via KO. Listen. As much as people, I feel like on social media, we have there's like a lot of love-hate relationship when it comes to Cody Garbrandt in the MMA community. He has a lot of backing, but there are some haters. I'll tell you this, he's still got power in those hands. I don't care what anybody says about that chin. Those hands are dangerous.
I think he's still good because like, I think that, you remember he was like 11-0.
Yeah.
And then the TJ Dillashaw fights really took him out.
Yeah.
I think mentally it fucked with him. Mm-hmm. But he's starting to get his shit back together.
Well, I think that's what happens with a lot of these chambers. It's crazy to say, like, listen, first and foremost, I'm going to tell you this stat off bat. There's 11 champions on this card, either current or former champions in total.
It's crazy.
To a lot of them, I do find, like, if you get to that top and then someone just takes you out, and whether you try to go back again or you don't, like, it takes a toll on you. You know what I mean?
You can tell.
You go from being the one, the greatest, and then you see that somebody can just take you out like that. Like, that's gotta mess with you.
I just had it.
Yeah. So, but he is on his. You know what I mean? He's going back on his horse and he's getting back after it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. Do I say that he has like title shot contention in this future? We'll see. His name is big enough, so entertainment value wise, I feel like there's a chance. There's a chance.
No love.
But we'll have to see.
You just got to correct. He got hit with like a very similar right hand. Was it a right hand or was it left hook? TJ dropped him.
Yeah.
Right hook.
Yeah, but he's got to work on that. That's what I'm saying.
Munoz hit him with the same punch.
That's what the issue with these guys that are in, like, I feel like fighting for so long, there's so much tape on them that it's super easy for the guys that are up and coming to just study all your fights and your highlights. Everything's on YouTube.
Every habit.
Like, bro, everything's on YouTube. You can study somebody to a T nowadays. So you really have to evolve your game. You have to step it up and change it up as you go.
I'm sure he addressed it.
Yeah. I hope so.
So you got to watch your own tape and pick apart the things that you think they're going to figure out.
Right.
Dude, if he could get back to his form when he fought Dominic Cruz, that'd be amazing.
That'd be really great to see. That's what I'm saying. This is one of these proving grounds, because I'm not going to lie, Davison is a problem. That guy's a killer. Man. I'm excited. I'm not going to lie.
What he did to Joseph Benavidez, Jesus Christ.
I'm going to try my best to not be, biased one way or the other, but like it's hard not to root for that guy too, man. Yeah. Like, especially when I always like the ones that are either moving up or going down in weight. I like the ones that decide to put in the effort to do that extra step to take the fight. So that's in my opinion, like, I mean, granted for him, this is not a one-off. This is him moving up to the weight division entirely, but I like the challenge that you now are like, all right, I have experienced this. Let me try something completely different. It's a 10-pound difference, but you guys be surprised what that 10 pound does to you. You know what I mean?
They get to eat.
Yeah, you do need to eat. You do need to eat. Now, what do you guys think? Should we make our picks right away, or should we just go through the card and then we'll go through and make our picks afterwards? Or no picks? And then we build a parlay at the end. Yeah. All right, we're building the parlay. Everybody get DraftKings opened up. Right. Get it open. They're not a sponsor, not yet anyway. We'll see. All right, next we got Bobby Green versus Jim. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the expletive, but Jim Miller wants to be introduced as Jim fucking Miller. And I think that he should be. Listen, Bruce Buffer, I know that you have a very respectful way of announcing these fighters. Listen, we're all fans. Everybody's very appreciative. Trust me. We love you, Bruce. But man, that would be sick to be the first time ever.
300?
Just for 300, he's like, Jim fucking Miller.
Everybody lost their shit.
It's on pay-per-view.
Bro, he asked
like,
nicely.
They should be able to.
Jim Miller, out of the kindness of it, he's like, listen, Bruce, I love you. Please, for me. Listen, Jim Miller has fought on UFC 100. 200 and now 300.
That's nuts.
Give that man that intro. He deserves it. In my opinion, I feel like that's somebody who definitely deserves it.
Right.
Now, to break this fight down, all right, so we got Bobby Green, who is a favorite of mine, in my opinion. I do. When they showed that, like his fighting style, I remember it was like this graphic that they had from, I think it was like Invictus or one of like the older fighting like organizations. It was like, what's his fighting style? Hood. And I'm like, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. But unfortunately, his last fight, he did lose to Jalen Turner via KO. I watched the fight. I thought that was a late stoppage. They had my boy just down bad. He was face down on the canvas, and Jalen Turner was just on top, just banging away at the back of his head. And the ref was just watching, and it, like everybody was just like, "Bro, stop it." But I'm not gonna lie, Bobby got that dog in him. So as much as that was like a bad KO, I don't really take too much away from him. As much as like sometimes when he like.
He's still young too, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he's like
30 yet.
He's in his early 30s, so he's still at that point where I would say that he's like close to being either in his prime or like maybe on like the decline, depending on like where he is his age. But like I'd say like he's still sharp with the striking. He has good, ground game. I would say his takedown defense is pretty all right. Like he's an overall like balanced fighter. Yeah. You know, if you're picking a UFC creation, he's balanced. You know what I mean? In my opinion, well-rounded. I'd say he definitely leans more towards his striking. But I would like to see how this one goes, because like Jim Miller's tough and he's good all around. Like like he is filthy, I would say, on the ground specifically. So maybe it's going to stay away from there, and they're going to probably try to stand and fight a little bit more. Speaking of him being good on the ground, he beat Gabriel Benitez in his last fight via submission. So we know he's good on the ground because he has a couple under his belt. Dude, he's just a fan favorite. I mean, granted, both of these guys are. I feel like that's what this fight was about. This is what I love about 300. Yeah. Like, they really didn't go with, like, all right, let's figure out who's good, like, stylistically. They had to take that into account in a way, but for the most part, they were like, who do the fans want to see?
They definitely give.
What are the fights that get our people like, woo, like, are you kidding me? Like, this one came out, and I was like, bro. Take my money. Every time they would announce another one, I was like, take my money. You can just put my card on the table, just take it. And they just kept announcing more, and I was like, please stop. I need you to stop. But that one's going to be crazy, man. Yeah, man, Jim Miller, I feel like this is insane to me that he's fought on UFC 100, 200, and 300. I was listening to a podcast earlier where they were talking about it would be really cool to see him like in the future. Obviously, I wouldn't want to see him get older and keep fighting. I don't like when fighters get too old and they're just still taking that damage.
Yeah, right.
But it'd be cool if they had him on for like, because UFC 400 is just around the corner. You know what I mean? Yeah. It'd be cool if they have him on like the announcement team or something like that. I heard that was a suggestion earlier, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to see. I think it was like MMA Junkie that was talking about it, but I'd like that. I feel like that'd be fly.
They're giving a lot of analyst jobs to like.
They should. They should. As long as they're not.
The NBA's been doing it forever, and it's smart, man.
Yeah. As long as they're not like, saying things that are out of pocket or I would say being unprofessional, because at the end of the day, like a lot of these fighters do have egos. Like for example, and some of them are still active fighters. So that's another thing I've seen. Dominic Cruz, who's a current analyst, like he'll be on the desk like one of the three dudes that are announcing like on the fight, and after a fighter finishes somebody, will get on the mic and be like, I want Dominic Cruz next. And now you have to sit there, the man is right in front of you in the cage calling you out, and you got to be like, well, he fought very well, and we'll see about that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be like, oh, I dare you to try to come. You know what I mean? Like, you can't break that character. You have to really keep your composure. And it's a lot of them that are like, I like the idea of like the after, but it's interesting to see when they're still fighting and they have that job. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, man, are you about to just hop that table. You want the WWE stuff to come into real life.
right.
DC was he started doing the analyst thing while he was still fighting, right? Towards the tail end.
Yeah. I feel like that's how they usually get them. They like kind of feed you in a little bit.
Kind of crazy. Like I think they should just wait till after.
I mean, it's difficult when you get for the most part. You call a good amount of fights that aren't in your weight class, but when you get called out, like it's interesting to see you get out of character.
Yeah.
But like I feel like it also, I don't know. I like when the fighters do it, and with any sport, I like when they have like athletes that have done the thing to be there because you get a much different perspective. I'll tell you this though, there's this thing going around where like some people like hate on like analysts that aren't fighters or have never fought before.
Yeah,
Get out of here, bro.
That.
You know how many people sit down and watch sports on hours on hours on hours on hours on hours? That person could tell you about that sport.
Yeah.
They don't have to play the sport. It's like reading books. You didn't have to fight the battle to know about the battle. You know what I mean?
Right.
John Anik isn't a fighter, and he's great.
Yeah, like it's a different perspective. I'll give you that. I enjoy having the culmination of all of them, but at the same time, like I'm not going to sit here and act like I just want the one. You know what I mean? Like I need everybody to be there because there's also like for example, Joe Rogan, he has fought, like he has fighting experience, but he's never like people criticize him for never being like, for example, like a UFC fighter or like an MMA fighter. I think he did like taekwondo like competitions and stuff like that. That's still fighting. He's still,
does a lot
striking and whatnot.
The man does a lot.
But he does a lot.
He's
But
a black belt in jiu-jitsu too.
Yeah, there we go. See, but like that's where I feel like he has experience and knowledge and other stuff. He may not have fought on like the UFC, but he still has experience and knowledge and other things that make him credible, in my opinion, to speak on the sport. You know what I mean? He gives you a cool opinion. Plus, the memes of Joe Rogan be like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, I just seen him reacting like that recently. I was like, Jesus.
My favorite meme is like somebody getting knocked out and they're like unconscious, and Joe Rogan's like, "So what did you do wrong there?"
Yeah.
The poor guy's just like eyes rolling to the back of the head. He's like, "So what happened?"
Seen that Alistair Overeem?
Yeah, when he just gets the uppercut from Francis and he's just like, "So what happened? What's going on?" It's so bad, man. It's like the referee's diving when the fighter like is falling and they're trying to save him. Just like it just looks so goofy and so dramatic. But I get it,
Dude. Our boy Francis, man.
Yo, man, we got
So much
some stuff.
respect for him.
Listen, we were waiting
sucks
on
that
it.
what happened.
We didn't want it to happen. It was like a fairy tale thing where we were like, let's hope he goes into the boxing world and just dominates everybody. But that's not his sport. Like we have to give respect to the boxers at the end of the day. Like they're not schlubs. Like that's what they do from a young age. Like
He could have started a little smaller. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He
Well,
could have started a little.
here's an issue
a couple
with
of
that.
good names that were like not no Anthony
Went
Joshua.
immediately to the top.
thing
of
is
the
when it
top of
comes
the
to
heat, man.
like for example like Conor McGregor, etc., going into like boxing, bro, the names are so huge, especially with Francis, who was the heavyweight champion of the UFC when he left the UFC. So like that's like I feel like there's too much name to give you like a whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you have to have a competing name to draw the money.
And I'm sure that's what he wanted too.
Yeah. And then he got
Probably specifically.
I'm sure it would be different if
why wouldn't you?
it was him going to the UFC, Anthony Joshua going to MMA instead of the
That would be that. I feel like that would be a little bit more calculated. But even then,
Francis, I feel like would.
I don't know. I feel like it depends on the situation. Because, like for example, like we've had like boxers come into the UFC. The only one I could really think of was like Clarissa Shields, and for her, they did the smart way. They started her off like kind of like light and just like worked her way in, and she's doing pretty well. But I feel like I don't know. I feel like depending on who you are, like you kind of call out like some big names because you're a big name yourself. You're not going to try to fight. Like for example, if we're going by ranking, I don't think you'll fight out of the top 5.
Yeah, true.
But that top 5 will kill you.
Yeah,
You feel me? Like, that's where I'm
So
like,
where
I
the money
don't.
comes into play over like the sport.
I think it's more fair one way going over to the other, MMA going into boxing, that is boxing going into MMA. Because the moment you start mixing in like takedowns and clinches, that's too much. You have to unlearn certain stances in boxing for you to be able to learn how to like defend against takedowns or even get a takedown yourself, which I wouldn't recommend.
Kicks too.
Kicks too. That's another
You're
one too.
not ready for that leg
You
kick.
are
Different
not
as much
ready
as
for
you
that
think.
leg kick. Well,
Justin Gaethje's got a nasty calf kick.
oh man, we'll get to Justin Gaethje in just a moment. I can't wait.
Yeah, right.
But when it comes to Francis, like you have to remember, like he started his training in general of any combat sport, like in his like I think like early 20s or so, maybe like his late teens. So that's relatively young. Like I feel like for the most part, they say like at least now with the level of competition we've had in the last like 5, 6, 7 years, like you want to start around the time you're like 5, 6, 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you can kind of build that base or have like at least like high school experience in doing something like wrestling and whatnot. But when you get into the UFC, usually guys are around like the early 20s or so, and then like they say you hit your peak around like your late 20s, early 30s, and then from there is the decline. And then if you're follow like Luke Thomas and Morning Combat and that MMA podcast, they do have I wouldn't say it's their theory, but it's something that they've talked about that I guess is associated to them. It's the whole thing of like once you hit 35, you start to decline. Now, I'll say that depends on the weight class, because once you get into like the big boys, the power is the last thing to go. So you can be 45 still swinging. That's why these boxers get like pretty old and they're still able to fight. That's why. It's just that that's you don't have to move as quick. They're not coming at you with all these takedowns and all this crazy stuff. You're usually just like trying to swing on each other. That's why.
That Randy Couture is an exception as well.
That's different. You know what I mean?
He has a whole different style. Of course.
That was a different style. I feel like of fighting, but like I also like, I don't know. You also have to admit when you get out of UFC, you get freedom to do a couple little things you couldn't do in the UFC. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Start taking some over-the-counter medicines. You know, some sort of. You know what I mean? Who knows what you find just stumbling about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
Who put what in my food that day that got me so jacked?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What is
the trainer said it was
juice?
okay.
Yeah, the trainer just gave me some vitamins. I just took whatever was in those vitamins. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, so moving on to the next fight on UFC 300, we got Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. This one I'm also excited for because both of these ladies are strikers to the day that they die, and that shit gets me excited. These girls are gonna go in there and they're gonna swing. I feel like this is one of those like, who do you know is going to be a fight of the night? There's so many fights of the night, and this one is a contender for a fight of the night. Like, I've seen them both in some wars. I've seen them both knock out a bunch of women. I've seen them, like, just get into some scraps where they've gone either under 3 rounds, a full 5 rounds, and I can't wait to see them both fight. We got Jessica Andrade just beat Mackenzie Dern via KO. Made me upset. I love Mackenzie Dern, but you know it has to happen. Her striking has just not gotten any better, in my opinion. I like to see that she keeps working on it, but man, when she starts to like stand and bang with these women, it is not a good look, bro. She just gets cleaned up and taken out of there ASAP with those hands.
There's been like top level jiu-jitsu fighters that have a little bit of trouble coming into MMA.
Oh man, it's
striking is.
They find success, I find, with the lower rankings, but then once you get into those people that know how to mix it up, it's like, there it goes.
Yeah, right.
There it
Damian
goes.
Maia is a good example. So good on the ground.
Yeah.
Couldn't really.
No, that's the thing is like when you find somebody that learns how to like stuff a takedown or learns how to get out of certain holds and then get back up on the feet, you're gonna run into a lot of issues. And then especially if you don't learn how to like defend certain like punches and kicks and all that kind of stuff, you're gonna have a very serious problem. Because the moment you realize, you notice it in fighters when it's like a 3 round or a 5 round, the moment it clicks that they are no longer able to take a fighter down, they get like a little worried. They get on their bike, they get a little defensive, they try to run away. It's a different fight. You're seeing somebody then start getting hunted, and it's like, that's not good. Or the worst one, in my opinion, that I absolutely hate is when they're just like, I'm going to try to take this on the ground by sitting on the ground, and then they start butt scooting all over the place, and I hate that. Listen, so I don't, I got to...
did that with the Imanari roll.
I don't like when they start spamming that stuff, bro. I'm not a fan. In my opinion, I feel like they gotta adopt like soccer rules, and I think like one championship might do this where they do like yellow cards. You know what I mean? You get points taken away if you start doing that, because in my opinion, you are holding up the fight by that goofy stuff that you're doing right now. Nah, that's got to go away.
They're ahead of the game though with their like hydration tests and stuff.
Yeah,
there's no weight cutting over there anymore, huh?
Oh, that's got to be exciting. I got to get more into one championship.
I think that's a really smart thing for them to do. Some fighters have to kill themselves to make the weight to where they're fainting on the scale.
I could not imagine.
I mean, dude, like we were having this conversation the other day, like seeing where you're at in terms of like your weight and then thinking about where you have to fight, it is it is shocking. Like you're like, how tall am I? How tall are they? Oh, that's who I be fighting? Yeah, no, I can't make that weight class. That's like a 45-pound difference, bro.
It's a crazy difference. I would have to drop to like 175.
Yeah, no, it makes
like a good fucking 50 pounds.
It makes no sense. You know what it is? You see it on the TV, and I think it fucks with your brain a little bit. You're like looking at it, and you're like, that. Yeah, I could do that. That's not that bad.
Yeah.
Give me 3 months in the gym, out. You know what I mean? Shaping up real quick, I'll be all right. But then you like really think about it. You look at the weight and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, it's insane. But to be fair, a lot of them like they'll cut weight, and then they have like the day to kind of rehydrate. So they'll drop down to like, let's say like 185. But then depending on the fighter, when they step back in the cage on the fight day, they'll be back up 195 or maybe even bigger than that. Like a lot of people say that there are certain fighters that they look a lot bigger the next day. It's just like they just rehydrated really well. They followed the steps, and now they're huge again. So it's like, are they actually fighting at that weight? Most likely not. If you were to weigh them like right before they walked into the cage, everybody would be completely different just because of the way that they rehydrate their bodies.
Yep.
And then we got Marina Rodriguez, who just beat Michelle Waterson, also via KO. Listen, Michelle Waterson, the karate hottie, cut her from the UFC. That was a terrible fight. I don't know if you guys saw that one, but that one was bad.
I was with you
You were with me on that one, dude, because we were just watching. We were like, she was trying to swing, but you know what it was? You know what it's like? It's like you have like a little cousin or something like that, and you're just like holding their forehead as they're trying to punch you, and then she's just like mink, 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 mink. That's what it's like. It was so bad. Oh, I felt so bad for her, but I was just like, damn, get her out of here. Like this is just not the competition for you anymore.
What'd she get caught with?
No, she like literally just got like pieced like up, like she was up against the cage, and it was just like a TKO, like relentless amount of punches. She just couldn't, and she just like dropped and had to like just to like block herself. It wasn't like she got like slapped, but it was one of those just like the volume of punches and the amount she wasn't defending herself. The ref was like, all right, we've seen enough. We're good. We're good. Well, that's what I'm talking about with the two of them. Like, I feel like these are two really good strikers that I can't wait to see them fight. And I'm honestly super excited. And then granted, we're still on the early prelims, guys. We haven't made it to the prelims yet. Anyway, so the main one of the early prelims, we're going to go to Jalen Turner versus Money Moicano. Listen, I'm a fan of Renato Moicano now. That boy got me excited for every event that I see his name on, because that dude's post-fight press conferences, or even when he grabs the mic after a victory, you don't know what he's gonna say. He always says something that's so crazy. And
those are my favorite ones.
I'm with it, because you like you want the hype, you want something attached to the fighters. Like, granted, there's a lot of them that have really great performances when they go in there and they fight really well. Yeah. Great, fantastic. But I need something a little bit more. Like I like looking into the fighters, or at least I want you to have a personality. I also like the idea of like, when they hand you the mic at the end of a fight and you just did something amazing, have a plan. Say something. Market yourself. Build your brand a little bit more. Whatever it may be, whether it's like, I'd like to thank God, or I want to thank my family, my coaches, and be the supportive one. Or you could be the one that's like, let's go everybody, and get the crowd hype. You know what I mean? There's so many different ways you can go about it, but like, have something. Don't just be like, thank you. I appreciate it. I did a good job, and then you walk away. Like, that's so boring.
My favorite is Nate Diaz's call out of Conor McGregor. For Diaz and McGregor won.
That's what I'm saying. You
taking everything I work for, motherfucker.
But you see how you remember that? You see how that was like years ago, and you still remember that? That's what I'm talking about. Yep. You need to have that like after fight moment where you're like, no, I'm going to have this moment. I'm going to grab this mic and I'm going to say my thing. And that goes down in history at the end of the day. Like, that stuff that gets... So in the UFC games, you can get like quotes from like the fighters, and that's where they come from for the most part. It's usually those. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I like a fighter that grabs the mic afterwards and they give something that's crazy. If you have a great performance, you're like, I'm not surprised. It's what I do. It's cool, but it's at the same time, it's not... It doesn't get me excited for your next fight, because you're like, all right, he did good. Yeah. But then I'm like, all right, can't wait for the next fight. Like, immediately I forget. But if you do something crazy, then Twitter starts to blow up. Everybody starts, talking about it. They start hyping up all the connections. Yeah. Well, I mean, social media has become such a big thing now that that's a good way to also get something too. You know what I mean? Is if you're not active and you're not fighting and you don't get that moment to grab the mic, there's your moment to do that.
And Cejudo did it for the Merab fight.
Yeah, and Merab, you need to follow Merab. That's somebody you want to get into with the social media. So he's been on this rant since Sean O'Malley at his last fight after he won. He basically like didn't call him out, but he called him out in a way where he was just like, "Oh, I guess I'll fight Merab if that's what the UFC wants." Like it was just like such a whatever. Like no excitement, no build up. There wasn't any sort of like flair to it. So Merab decided to take it on himself to now start a social media campaign to get this fight done. So what he did is it looks like he hired a Sean O'Malley lookalike, and he's been clowning him around. And I saw one earlier where it's like Aljamain Sterling, because they're training partners. Yeah. He's like pulling up in his car and he's like, "What are you doing, Merab?" And Merab's just going for a run, holding the Sean O'Malley lookalike over his shoulder, running. This is a real person. This is like a dummy that he has too. He is a real person. And then it's that, and then it's him and Paulo Costa in the training center stealing each other's food. It's amazing, but that's something that gets you to like the fighters. Listen, he gets criticized for his fighting style of like just wrestling, taking you down, consistent takedowns over and over and over again. I wouldn't say the most exciting thing in the world, but now you want to watch him because of the social media gimmicks. You see what I mean?
Sometimes those gimmicks are needed. Like
it is, bro. I
know. Like maybe a pure fighter don't really care too much for the social media, the new age.
I think that there's a way you can do it where people still respect you. Because, like, for example, like Max Holloway is a guy who we'll talk about later. He's going to be a little bit later. He is one of the nicest dudes. He says that he should. It's funny enough that he's fighting for the BMF because he used to challenge DC to fight for the NMF, the nicest MFer. And he's a guy that, like, I feel like he has really good moments on the mic, and he has a big following of people that like him because A, he's really good in the cage, but B, every time he gets the mic, he says something that's really insightful, or he's really funny, or whatever it may be. Like, you don't have to be Captain Dickhead and start calling people out. You don't got to be the Colby Covington.
You can be cool.
Nobody be a Colby Covington. It gets you nowhere. It gets you nowhere. Like he has money, but at the same time, I feel like there's like a certain line you cross, or then it's like, nobody likes you, bro. Like nobody likes you. But I feel like you gotta know like your pocket, your lane, but you gotta be true to yourself too. You know what I mean? That's another part. And Renato Mercado, in my opinion, he's somebody that's like a big up-and-coming star. He takes fights on short notice sometimes, but he'll also have like a good, decent build-up. He calls out, I feel like, the right people. He just beat Drew Dober, and he called him out, and he wanted to prove that he can take that next step to get closer to being in the top 5. So that was a good one. Jalen Turner, the guy who just knocked out Bobby Green, like I was talking about earlier. Yeah. So that's going to be a good one too. That one I'm intrigued to see. As much as I'm rooting for Renato Moicano, like Jalen Turner's a beast. He also is a beast. Tall. He's got that reach. Like I feel like that's going to be interesting to see how they fight when it comes to that, because you got to like close the distance on those guys. You can't let them get at range and just start picking you off. Yeah. And now we are finally at the prelims. All right.
Right.
Going into the prelims. All right, guys. We got Sadiq Youssef versus Diego Lopez. Now, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of both of these guys. Now, we were talking right before the mics heated up. We got Edson Barbosa, who is Sadiq Youssef's last fight. Unfortunately, Sadiq Youssef lost to Edson Barbosa, but I thought it was a really good fight. I feel like he, near the very end, kind of took his foot off the gas a little bit, what he needed to kind of like, I guess, get the finish, or even like just be the deciding factor in that win. But it wasn't like a terrible loss, in my opinion. So I feel like he's going to be good. And then Diego Lopez is a favorite of mine and a fan favorite of everybody else's. He's got that hairstyle with the swoop. Everybody loved the swoop. You know what I mean? That's a fan favorite. The bang. You got the bang. But he's somebody that came out of nowhere, in my opinion. Like, I feel like I didn't know anything about this dude, and then out of nowhere, he's taking short notice fights, and he's just swinging on people, getting people in like these jumping arm bars, taking them to the ground. He's like on your ass from the moment the bell rings, and he's coming at you.
He's
crazy.
part of like the Brazilian resurgence.
Yo, they're like their own like assassins of Brazilians that are coming out. There's like, here's my thing. There's a lot of Brazilian fighters, but I feel like there's differences between them. Like there are some that like are like strike heavy, some that are like, no, I'm following the way of like jujitsu, and you can tell that they like stick to the butt scooting and all that weird stuff. But then there's guys like this that are just like, I'm gonna come at you with the kitchen sink, bro. I'm throwing everything at you. I'm striking, I'm grappling, I'm gonna try to take you down, I'm trying to choke you on the ground, on the feet. I'm coming at you everywhere. And Diego Lopez, he's an exciting fighter. This one's gonna be a really good fight. I'm intrigued to see how it goes. I don't know who's going to win. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like Sadiq Youssef is like somebody that's you should keep an eye out for. Like he's overall, I would say, a great fighter. The only thing with him is that I think he maybe got a little starstruck fighting Edson Barbosa. That's the tricky part when it comes to like these young guys that are fighting now, when it comes to like having the older guys that are still around. You fight your heroes.
Yeah, it's kind of
you grow up watching them, and then you're gonna go and you're gonna fight them. And I understand that that's
I don't
what
want
you
to
do.
fight him. I learned everything I know.
It's like GSP when he fought Matt Hughes for the first time.
Oh,
You're like, this is my guy. I'm starstruck. I've been watching you. You're the dude. Like, and that throws people off sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, you can be watching like somebody and like studying them and being like, all right, I'm ready for this fight. You train, you get through the whole camp, and then you get into that cage and you look at them and you're like, damn. I'm here, bro.
I can't believe I'm here.
What? I'm here. I'm really.
I gotta really put this guy out.
Yeah, and then I don't know if that was it, but like in my opinion, like I feel like that had to do something with it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, cause like he started off really strong, even in the middle of the fight, like it was really good. But then somewhere near that middle, he like kind of took his foot off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought he was in the clear, but then Edson Barbosa, you can't. That's the thing with you. If you're fighting a legend, don't count them out just because they're not a champion. They're in this game still for a reason, bro. Right. Dustin Poirier fighting Benoit Saint-Denis. Listen, I know I had my picks wrong.
Yeah.
Like I said, disclaimer, like I said last time, don't take my picks, but if you win, I want a percentage. But with Dustin Poirier against Benoit Saint-Denis, I feel like that was exactly what we thought. We thought Dustin Poirier was going to be put out to pasture and they were going to get rid of my dude over here. And he was like, nah, I'm still that dude. I'm still that dude. Like I said, once you see him start to hike up the shorts and get in that pocket, that's a problem. And what did he do? He clocked him with a right hand and he took him out. That's what happens. You know what I mean? You can't get starstruck by these guys and let them just kind of like, you know, like throw you off like that. You know what I mean? Right. So if Sadiq Youssef sticks to the game plan, I mean, granted, I don't think he's going to be starstruck, you know, in the situation. He's fighting Diego Lopez, a guy who's on his even playing ground. But I feel like he just needs to stick to the game plan and keep it going. And we have two guys who, in my opinion, could be future champions. Like, they're both good enough that they could be future champions. So that's a banger that I can't wait to see.
All right.
Who we got next? Oh, this is a banger. We got Holly Holm versus the debuting Kayla Harrison. Listen, I don't know if you guys watch PFL like that. Listen, we're watching them before the cameras heated up. You know what I mean? We're watching it a little bit right now. Kayla Harrison is a dominating force. She is somebody that's Amanda Nunes level savage.
Really?
She is someone that I have a feeling will dominate in the women's division. It's a weird thing in the women's division in all the weight classes where I feel like there's like a top three and then there's a giant space and there's everybody else. And then now there's going to be Kayla Harrison, space, those three, space, everybody else. Like she's a dude, she's a powerhouse. Strong grappler. Olympic gold medalist winning, like just a pure savage. She is going to take down people, maul them on the ground like Khabib. Like that's the type of style that she has.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's good. She's good. She has one loss on her record, and it was a title fight that I say my thing. I think like, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's not your day. I think if you have that fight 10 times out of 10, she wins most of them, but that time it just wasn't her day. Yeah. But she is coming off a win against Aspen Ladd, former UFC fighter. So she's coming off a win coming into the UFC. A surprise signing, in my opinion. I thought that was like one of those people that's like brand ambassador in a way for like the PFL. So that was like a surprising sign. That's like the same way. I know. That's the thing that I want to know. I feel like there had to have been. I mean, you gotta admit, like the UFC's the brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where you can make a lot of money in these other brands, there is something to being a UFC fighter. Yeah. You know, Michael Venom Page, who just also recently fought, he was Bellator's guy. PFL bought out Bellator. We didn't know what was gonna happen. Is he gonna stay on Bellator? Is he gonna be a PFL fighter? UFC picks him up out of nowhere. Surprising announcement. That's another one where you're like, why?
Yeah, right.
it's the UFC is his answer. Like that, it's
But
the
I get
UFC.
it. Like come up to the UFC, get all this exposure.
Yeah.
You could always go back, get maybe a better deal off the leverage you have.
That's the thing is, I feel like for the most part, like once you get here, like your world explodes so much that like I think this is like the end of the road for the most part. Like I'm talking about specifically the ones that are like big names elsewhere that then come over here, like the Michael Chandler, who was a Bellator champion, who is now over here. My man's fighting Conor McGregor, which, by the way, sources that I have personally in the UFC, I feel like it's going to be June 29th. You know what I mean? Yeah. It is my girl's birthday. I will be missing her birthday. She doesn't know that yet. Please don't let her see this recording. I will be in Vegas.
She actually watches this. What do you mean?
What do you mean? But yeah, like that's what I'm talking about. I feel like there's something with the brand that you gotta go. You have to be associated with it. Why not?
Yeah.
Like I would. And for her, I think that probably was a big part of her decision in coming into this. And she's fighting a veteran in Holly Holm, a savage, still a contender for the title in my opinion. There was conversation about like, is she going to retire soon? I don't think so. I think she still has a couple good fights in her. She's still very skilled. Some people consider her a gatekeeper. I say she's like a gatekeeper / still contender in a way, but that's what I'm talking about when I say that when it comes to these like weight classes, there's like a top 3 and then there's like a bunch of like the up and comers. But a lot of the up and comers, it's like 1 out of every 10 that like make it through and have a shot. And then for the most part, a lot of them don't. But then there's also like the beasts, like you had for a while, Valentina Shevchenko just taking everybody and the grandmother out. Amanda Nunes taking everybody and the grandmother out. So you're at that point, you're just like feeding them to these lionesses that are just like murdering people. And I think Kayla Harrison's going to be the next one to come in and just kind of take the title. And I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, right.
So that's going to be a great fight. And then next, now this one, I'm going to give a little special attention to. Now listen, this podcast comes out of, New England. You know what I mean? We got to stay true to our roots. Calvin Kattar. Yeah. From this neighborhood of Methuen, you feel me? Got to give him a little bit of love. I feel like, in my personal opinion, I'm always a fan of when I see people that are from around here break it through. I feel like, I don't know.
A lot of good fighters from around here.
I get ties to certain people, but I feel like I don't see them a lot. I don't see a lot of people from like around the Boston area being in like the UFC, these other like big fighting organizations. But I know plenty of people that are in some sort of martial art, and I'm like, what's going on? Yeah. But Calvin Kattar, shout out. He's taking on Aljamain Sterling, who is debuting in this weight class. That's the way I'm going to word it. Former champion, another one out of the 11 that I spoke about earlier. He is going to now be in the weight class, I believe, a 145 division. He was a champion of 135. He's now moving up to 145. Aljamain Sterling is another dude. Not too big, but he was a big dude in his weight division. So people would argue, like, I wouldn't say weight bully, but like when it comes to like grappling and stuff like that, he was for sure a lot bigger than a lot of guys. He's a lot stronger than a lot of guys. So I feel like when it comes to stuff like that, like it's really important to see how big the dude is, like when it comes to like muscle strength and all that kind of stuff. So for me, is a good fit for him. Moving up in weight class, Calvin Kattar, I feel like is going to be a really good test for him. Great striker, Calvin Kattar. I think that's going to be a good like test of, can Aljamain hang with like the strikers? I feel like in his previous weight division, there was like a lot of like strikers / like grapplers that lead more towards grappling, or a lot of like grapplers. Whereas like now in the 145 division, there are a lot of strikers. So I feel like for him, he's going to have to like learn to get to the takedown, which is his main thing, is getting to the takedown, getting to your back, getting that choke. He's going to have to work on that, but avoiding getting clocked out. You know what I mean? Because that's what happened in his last fight against Sean O'Malley here in Boston. My man went in for the takedown or whatever that was, and he got cleaned. Like it was very visible. It was like the thing you can see a mile away when he tried to leap in for him. He just went bang and took him out. So
came in hands down. Too.
Yeah. So
you can't do that with
I want to see.
You can't do it with Kattar either.
No, you can't do it with Kattar. So I want to see how this fight goes. I feel like it's going to be a test of Kattar keeping the distance and just kind of tagging him and just kind of waiting for his moment to get him out of there. And Aljamain Sterling this is going to be the test to see. All right, you are a champion. Like there's no doubt about it. You're one of the greatest too. Like let's not get it twisted. Aljamain Sterling is one of the greatest champions in the 135-pound weight division. Period. Like I don't want to. There's no debate there. But it's just a test of like, all right, can you like we were speaking about earlier? Can you take that L? dust yourself off, and keep moving forward.
I think he could.
Because he's a contender, in my opinion, for the belt at 145. There's some pretty big dudes in that division that he's going to have to get through, but I think he could do it. So this is a test for him to see how he does. And Calvin Kattar, I think, is a great test. Now, Calvin Kattar, he is somebody that I feel like he's young, so I don't want to say like that gatekeeper thing, but he has like this weird position where he needs to get some friction to get back to title contention. There was a while where people were like, Calvin Kattar, that's a guy you could throw in the title right now. Get him as a contender. And then he lost a couple, and it's like, all right, there it goes. But that's the point of this. You really have to like make sure people remember your name, like they know who you are. So I would say if he does this and he finishes Aljo, that's a big stepping stone for him there.
That definitely
Huge
is.
win.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
And then next, we got the main event for the prelims, Yuri Prohaska versus Alexander Rakic. Now, this one is a big one for the light heavyweight division.
Yeah.
These 205ers, these big dudes, right? This one's going to be interesting because Yuri Prohaska just came off a loss for the title to Alex Pereira. And now he's fighting Alexander Rakic, who for a while people were saying was like a big contender for the light heavyweight title, but he, I believe, like got injured or something like that, and he was gone for a while, and then he had a couple like weird fights, but I don't know. I think he still has a chance. He's a good overall fighter, very balanced. I feel like he has a good shot. But Yuri Prohaska, I love watching that dude fight. He does the Bushido style. He gets those weird ass haircuts. He comes in, you know what I mean? He does
he
that
had
weird.
that last fight too. Like,
He was doing good. He was piecing up Alex, but Alex was waiting on him for a counter strike. Apparently, that's his whole thing is the counter like hook. That's his shot.
His
so
left hook is
he was
best
waiting
weapon.
on it. But I wonder if this one's gonna go like similar to not like to that fight, but I wonder if this one's gonna be more ground heavy instead of like striking.
they have him as the underdog.
They do?
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy.
They have
Prochaska.
Yuri as the underdog.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not a bad bet to go on Yuri.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
Yuri the underdog?
that's
It's
crazy.
not a bad bet. Hold on, we're building this parlay at the end, so let me note that down. I'm gonna write that one down. Hold on. But Rakic also lost his last fight to Jan Blachowicz, who was also a former champion, and he lost that fight by KO. So I guess both of them coming off a KO loss. Let's see if they can clear the cobwebs and come back after it. I think this is going to be another one that like is going to be an exciting fight, another fight of the night contender. Yuri Prohaska, this is like one of those moments where you lost a fight for the title. You can bounce right back and get right back in that picture, especially at the light heavyweight division where right now it's really weird. There's a lot of like, I'm the champion. I got to let it go because I got injured. All right, I got the title back. All right, I got to let it go because I got injured.
Yeah.
I'm the champion now. I'm the temporary There's a lot of weird title movement.
Yeah.
So we need to clear it up. We got a couple light heavyweight fights. We got some good ones coming up, and hopefully we clear out this division a little bit more. We get some stability. You know what I mean? I like a long, like a reigning champion. I like a 3-4 fight win streak champion.
Yeah.
That's something I really enjoy.
It's a good little streak going.
Yeah, I don't know about you
Build
guys.
a legacy. That's their
What
legacy.
do you guys think about this whole? All right, I got the belt. All right, I want to fight the champion above me. I don't want that. I don't
See, O'Malley just tried to do that with Topuria. And Topuria is a savage. I mean, you know what? That would be a fantastic fight,
Yeah.
but Merab deserves a shot first.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. But
And Topuria said that too over social media, didn't he?
yeah,
He's like, yeah, take care of like fight Merab first. And
Yeah.
then
yeah.
They could. I mean, how many title defenses does he have? Beat Cheeto. Was that his first?
That's one. That's what I'm
That's
talking
his
about.
first title defense.
That's one. That's what I'm talking about. You don't.
That's too soon.
It's either they have none or they get one, and then they're like, "Bet, give me the guy above me." But
Yeah,
it's
you gotta dominate a little bit. And
get something. You know what I mean? Like for example, Volkanovski, he only challenged Islam because he was like, "I'm about to lap everybody."
Right.
Izzy, he challenged Jan. He lapped everybody.
yeah.
You have reason. You have enough title defenses. I'd say minimum 3 to 4, depending on. Here's what I'm gonna say: 3 to 4, depending on your record. The reason I say that is this: if you have fought most of the other contenders, and then you become the title holder, and you beat like 1 or 2 guys, you've already fought pretty much everybody. So it's like, do we want to see those fights again? Maybe not. So then I could kind of see an argument for we want a big fight out of you. Maybe you fight the title holder above you. Bless you.
Thank you.
But when it comes to like you fighting like. Beat the champion, you haven't fought a bunch of these guys, and now you're like, for example, Topuria, when he won the title, he's like Max is a bum. He's like what's his name? He literally cleared out almost all the guys at the top. He was like, I'm not fighting any of these guys. Like he was just like, I'm not fighting anybody that just recently fought Alex. I'm not fighting a single one of them. And then he's like, all right, give me Islam or whatever. He's like, let me just fight above. It's like, dude, you can't. You just won the title. You need to relax.
Yeah,
and
right.
then Sean O'Malley's like, bet I just got one defense. Give me Topuria. You guys,
you need a little trilogy with a certain.
Everybody wants the Conor McGregor special treatment.
Well, listen,
just a little bit.
Till this day, there's been a bunch of. I think there's up to 9 people that are champions in 2 weight divisions, but there's only 4 people that have held 2 belts at one time. So. That's the thing that people want, like you said, legacy. They want that legendary status, but you got to work for that, bro. You can't just do it. I mean, it's cool to say that you just won 1 belt and then right away turn around and got another
2
one
at the same time.
But yeah, I find it better if you're like, I'm running this one and I'm running this one and now I'm running both, son. Like, I feel like that's a lot better to me than you just being like just consistently all these achievements. Because then the achievements don't mean as much. Because like, for example, are you gonna then defend both, or are you just moving to one? That's what you got to think about too.
Like, imagine like starting at the bottom and kind of just like gradually going up weight class all the way to.
That'd be insane. You come up 135, you end up 265. You're like, yo, your health is in serious condition. You are not okay, bro.
Or the opposite, you just fucking go down the.
What do you think is more concerning? You gained all that weight, or you lost all that weight?
I think it would have to start like. Middleweight up. It can't
you can't go 135 and then end up a heavyweight at 225 plus.
It gotta be like slowly like
that one's gonna be Yuri versus Alexander is gonna be a great one. I feel like that's another fight of the night, and I'm glad that one's gonna end up the prelims because now we're getting to the final main card of the evening, the ones we've all been waiting for. Realistically speaking, when it comes to UFC 300. The order of the fights, I wouldn't say that I'm like, in terms of putting it like early prelims, main card, there's not one set that I'm really excited for. As much as I'm like, this is the big one, it really isn't. There's so many throughout the night that are just like so exciting. Something I'm intrigued to see. So as we've already gone over the early prelims and the prelims, you guys have heard a lot of these fights. We've discussed a lot of bangers, a lot of ones we're like really excited to see. Do you guys think people are going to show up early for those? Like if you watch like the pay-per-views, you see in the background, you can see the crowds. That shit is usually pretty empty up until like the main card starts.
I think it's gonna be
we got champions fighting in the early fights. Like
prelim.
I think there's gonna be like celebrities there.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be way more packed than usual.
I hope so. The thing with this is like there's this consistent conversation that's going on right now with the UFC. One, people think that they're using the UFC Apex too much. So that training facility that they have where they put the fights out of there, where like 12 people are allowed in the building to watch and it's like real quiet. They think they're using that too much. It takes away from the big event feel, which I think it does. 2, they feel like they're not putting together big cards in general. So even when they do have them in like a live stadium of some kind, they're just putting some whatever fights together, a bunch of no names, a bunch of people you don't care about. Even like the main card is like whatever. People are arguing that like the fill-in between 299 and 300 has been at best, you know what I mean? And I kind of have to agree with them in a way. It's a weird thing that like the UFC got contracted basically to have a certain amount of fights for ESPN throughout the year. And I don't know, I feel like in a way they kind of did take their foot off the gas when it came to like these big fights. Like you get a really big one once in a while. I'll say this, 299 and 300 back-to-back were bangers. Those were huge, exciting cards.
Definitely good ones to tune into.
And you got like a lot of space. You know what I mean? Like
I wonder if everything's gonna fall off after 300. Are they gonna chill out? give us a lot of like.
They got another
announced-
banger coming in Saudi
Yeah.
Arabia though too. Robert
they
Whittaker,
do.
Hamzat Chimaev.
They
bro.
just announced that one. That one's a good one. That's going to be exciting. There's rumors that Izzy versus DDP is going to come soon
too.
in the summer. And again, like I said, my plug in the UFC that I have personally, don't worry about it. Let me know that maybe, allegedly, Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler will be happening on June 29th. Again, I will be skipping my girlfriend's birthday. She doesn't know. Don't tell her.
I won't tell her.
But to start off the main card, we got, and this is what I mean by the order being a little weird, we got Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Now, this one's got a lot of like mixed feelings. Now, no shade against either one of the fighters. It's not that they're bad fighters. It's more this. People find it weird that Bo Nickel being an up-and-coming fighter is on the main card when you have bigger names that have like legendary status fighting. Like, for example, even Yuri Prohaska versus Alexander Rakic. Maybe that one should have been on the main card. The Calvin Kattar, Aljamain Sterling.
That could have easily
been there. Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison, that being her debut, that could have been there. Right. You could have even thrown Bobby Green, Jim Miller, because it's such a fan favorite on there. Davison Figueiredo, Cody Garbrandt, those ones all could have been on the main card.
Which
so
is
you
kinda
see
crazy, like,
where people are like, wait, why?
Yeah.
Now, Bo Nickel is a huge up-and-comer. He's on a win streak. He won his last fight by knockout. Shout out Val Woodburn for taking that fight last minute.
Huge underdog.
My man got... but
minus 1350.
Bo Nickel is in his last, like, I think 3 fights, every single time has come up, over 1,000 favorite. Like every single time,
Really?
over 1,000 favorite. He's just like a very skilled wrestler, but he also has like really good hands. I will say for the most part, I think people expect him more to be take you down, maul you on the ground, beat you up, get you out of there, or submit you on the ground. But he showed in his last fight, you better watch out for those hands. He'll come at you quick, and he'll take you out of there fast, because he got Val Woodburn out, I think, in the first round. So you got to watch out for him. But Cody Brundage ain't no punk, you know what I mean? He also has a good amount of wins under his belt, a lot of KO, a lot of submissions. So I feel like it'll be a good test. I like what they're doing with Bo Nickel. Starting him off slow, letting him really work his way up and get his experience before they give him to the creme de la creme. Because people immediately were like, he had like one fight in the UFC, give him Hamzat. What are you doing? Like, no, because the thing is like, if you want to, it's weird with the UFC where they want superstars, but I feel like they don't want to put too much into the superstars. You want to build somebody up. You don't want to just throw them to the wolves because people are hyped on them. Let the people wait a little bit. Let them, you know what I mean?
Really experience a little. Yeah,
because you also like at the same time, some of these guys where they may be killers, like knocking out these like no names or whatever. Once they get into the spotlight and the event is around you're on the posters, you're doing all the press conferences, this and the third. That could mess with you a little bit. Yeah. Let them build their way up. Let them be a little early on the cards, and then they'll get into the main card slots, and then there's the main event. You know what I mean? You work your way up.
Did well with O'Malley on that.
That's a perfect example.
That's when it was done well, because there's been a lot of examples of fighters being rushed to a title shot. Darren Till.
And look at Darren Till. Some say he fell off completely. Boy's about to go do bare knuckle or something. Who knows? But
it's crazy. Mike Perry's got that on lock.
Mike Perry. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Mike Perry. That's my guy.
How can you not like Mike Perry, man? He goes in.
Shout out Platinum, bro.
Woo.
He's 1/16th African or whatever he says. I don't know. Give him a follow on social media.
Everyone is, right?
Give him a follow on Instagram. Everybody loves Platinum Mike Perry. But yeah, I think that, you know what, as much as it's like a weird placement for the card, I'm with it. I'm with it all. 300 is going to be an event, so throw him wherever. Make him the main event. I don't care. But I think that one's going to be a good fight. I'm intrigued. I don't know if that one's going to be a finish or a decision. I feel like they're both very skilled. I do think the odds are the odds for a reason.
Right. And I think I fucked up. I said minus 1350, and I called him an underdog. That's not true. I fucked up.
No, but I know what you meant. I know what you meant, because
I thought about it.
I assumed Cody Brundage was not going to be the favorite against him. Nothing against Cody Brundage, but it's just like people just expect so much from Bo Nickel. So throw $2 like a scratch ticket towards Cody Brundage. Who knows?
Yeah, why not?
$2 towards a KO, that'll win you a house. Who knows? With them odds, that's crazy.
Yeah, right.
Next one, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, listen, there's a couple fights in this card where I am like, what is my favorite card on the fight? And this guy is one of my favorite fighters. So I honestly think this one's got to be my favorite one of the fight. Yeah. Top two, they're fighting back and forth. But Charles Oliveira Let me change that. Charles, remember the name Oliveira.
Yeah.
Let me change that. Charles Du Bronx. All right, enough of that.
Yeah,
Charles Oliveira, Charlie Olives versus Armin Sarukian. Listen, this one's going to be a banger.
this is gonna be a good
I know
one.
I've said that word a whole bunch this fight, but this is so many fights.
Yeah.
Armin Sarukian is somebody that is a dangerous man on the feet, on the ground. He is a killer. He's an assassin. He's a murderer. He is somebody that you fear. He is somebody that is one of the only people that has gotten Islam to near defeat. And that's something that's insane.
That's crazy.
He's one of the only guys that people are like, oh, he could probably do it. But man, is he facing a monster in Charles Oliveira.
Yeah.
Now, Charles Oliveira, former champion, another guy who's dangerous on the feet, dangerous on the ground. Never count him out. The amount of fights that he's been in where he's gotten knocked down and then he comes back and he kills that guy, whether it be KO or he chokes him out, you can't count him out. You can't. And this is another one of those big tests. This is one, like how I was saying in the last episode that we did, where you have, I wouldn't even say the older guys, but maybe you could say like the older guard, but like one of the guys that is like a veteran in the game, welcoming Armin Sarukian finally into the title shot picture. Either one of these guys win, they're next. If it's not Dustin Poirier versus Islam and they've been chirping on Twitter, whoever wins this one is next. And boy, I'm gonna be breathing real heavy, sweating, pacing back and forth watching this one because I am nervous. I want Charles Oliveira to win so bad. I'm putting all the money in the world on that one. But
Oliveira
Armin
got a lot
Sarukian,
of, he got a lot of like Chandler. He's
got the boys.
Poirier.
He's got them all. He's got almost all of them.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's that guy, bro. He's that dude. He's
good everywhere.
He was like
And this one,
an
he's the
amazing
underdog.
champion, bro. But Islam is just such a force of nature that you can't take anything. Those Dagestani, bro. Islam Makhachev, bro.
He is a bear.
He is just he is a bear.
Like,
He's just like such a powerhouse that like it was a sad moment to see, and then they were supposed to have a rematch. That was supposed to happen in like October, and then that's when Volkanovski stepped in last minute to fight Islam. So he almost had a title shot, and then they didn't. And then interesting thing with this one. So what are you guys taking with this in terms of like rank and the I guess the power of the fight? Both of these guys, their last fight was Beneil Dariush. Both of them finished Beneil Dariush in the first round. Armin technically beat him earlier in the first round. Does that make it better? Do you give anything to that? They both beat the same guy in their last fight, both in the same round. Just one a little earlier than the other.
It's hard because sometimes MMA math don't add up.
Yeah, MMA math doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
But that's a funny one that I really was looking at. I was like, wow, they really both fought Beneil Dariush, both beat him in the first round, both KO'd him, both in different ways, but they both got him. Bro, that knee from Armin was a vicious one. I don't know if you guys saw that highlight, but he cracked him with a knee right up the middle, just took him out. There wasn't any like follow-up. It was just knee up the middle, done. It wasn't even he was shooting in for anything. He just grabbed his head and just kicked him with a knee real quick, dropped him. Bad.
Those knees and elbows, man.
That's why I like Muay Thai, bro.
Yeah, right. Me
The
too.
top 5 in lightweight is still a Shark Tank.
Oh,
Gaethje's right there,
they
too.
say it all the time. It is
And
the
Max
most.
is no easy walk in the park.
Well, that's
Yeah,
going to
right.
be the next one that we're talking about. A great segue. We got Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for that
Holloway.
BMF title.
Yeah.
That one's going to be a great one. That one's going to be one that I don't think anybody is going to be breathing right watching that entire fight.
Yeah, I'm gonna be standing up probably.
No matter who wins, man, the fans, nobody's going to win.
The fans
more
won.
than The fans,
The fans won. Who cares who
'Cause
won?
you know,
The fans won.
just off the fact that it's the BMF champion,
Yeah.
they're gonna just fucking.
Oh, they're just going to go
They're
for
throwing
it.
it.
And,
Yeah.
They're
and to
gonna
be
throw it.
fair, that title could not even be involved in this fight whatsoever, and both of these guys would still put on the same performance, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
true.
it's
Just
true.
puts a little bit extra around like
true.
the allure of the fight, but
Right.
we're not gonna sit here and act like these two guys aren't the best of the best in the divisions
gonna
when
be
it
a
comes to
dogfight.
like Justin the highlight like Gaethje. That's his name, bro. Highlight reel. Come on. And then we got Max Holloway, bro. He's bobbing and weaving punches from Calvin Kattar, saying I'm the best boxer in the UFC. Not even looking at him, just like bah 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 bah. He's taken he's had some arguably wins against Volkanovski. Like, people are still debating on that. At the end, Volkanovski did beat him in their trilogy, but somebody who's gone up against the pound for pound best in the world and taken them to their brink where they really had to pull everything out of their bag to defeat him. He's never been knocked down. Never been knocked out. He's never been knocked down either.
That's nuts.
That's another stat that's crazy to me. Like,
Poirier cracked him. They went to war.
they did go to war.
They went to war.
They did go to war. But they both. That's the thing with both of these fighters. They both got battle scars like crazy. Shout out Dustin Poirier for fighting both of these guys. I should not think about
Yeah,
it.
right.
Shout out that. This one's going to be one that I'm honestly most excited for. Like I said earlier, there's 2 fights in this card that I'm so excited for, and this is both of them. And they're back to back, bro. They're back to back. I'm so excited, man. This card has me so like geeked out. You guys have no idea. I live for this stuff. I watch so many podcasts. I watch so many videos. I'm watching highlight tape all the time. This sport has really just taken. It's an addiction. I really am. Like,
bro, I'm definitely getting hooked. Lately, I've been like tapping in more than usual.
So I found out 2 things yesterday. I have UFC 4 and UFC 5 downloaded on multiple consoles, and something I found out, I have an average of around. So on one console, I had 389 hours. On another one, I had 267, and then I'm getting up there. I'm already at over 150 on my PS5.
So is this like online fighting?
This is both online and offline. So let me know if anybody wants those hands, and I'm
man.
And the UFC 5 just dropped a whole new roster update, so now they got a bunch of the dudes in there now.
Bro,
Shout out Renato, not the Moicano, sorry. These Brazilians with the R's, I'm learning. Give me some time. I'm Dominican. I speak Spanish. No falo português.
Right.
I'm trying.
Pereira is technically Pereira.
Pereira. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's tough, man.
So don't listen. I'm used to saying it in a certain way. I'm learning. I'll get there.
I struggle with all these names,
bro.
I know these guys, but I can't say their names.
Before I come in here, I watch interviews and I watch this and the third of other people saying their names because I cannot. If you give it to me written, I will never guess that. Bro.
And then you hear certain people say certain names differently. And it'll just like mess you up,
bro. I know that there's like a fistful of names on here that threw people off. I know Sarukian threw everybody through a loop. I know Prohaska threw everyone through a loop for sure, bro. And let me tell you, and for our next fight, I know you didn't know how to pronounce it. Yan Xiaonan versus Wei Li Zhang.
No, I definitely did it.
Those threw people through a loop.
Definitely did it.
That's it. Still sharp, man.
This one's another one that I'm very, very excited for. Wei Li Zhang versus Yan Xiaonan. The battle for China is the way that they're promoting it right now. Both of these women presenting the best skill sets you could possibly imagine fighting out of China, and it's going to be an exciting fight. Wei Li Zhang has my full support, but Yan Xiaonan won me over as a fan in her last couple of fights, as I've just seen her develop into this like vicious title contender. This one's going to be a war. Yeah. This one's going to be...
This was huge. People don't realize that this can like...
There's a stigma on women's MMA that I feel like a lot of times people... Like, this is what I'm talking about, and I hate that this is like a thing that I have to... like that is a thing that exists, but it really is like such a disparity when it comes to like the skill level, where it really is, man, just like a top creme of like a handful of fighters space the rest of them. And so when you're watching like a fight night, or like you're watching like the early prelims and the rest of them, this bottom group are fighting, you're like, get this off the TV. But at the same time, when it comes to the men, like it's maybe that it's been more acceptable for men to be in the sport for longer, that you see more men attracted to the sport. But like that pool of like the whatevers, those don't make it to the UFC. There's enough of like the middle and the top that they're flooding the UFC, and there's always going to be more. The women have like, it's found that it's a little bit harder to find. Like there's a handful of legends, and even then some of those legends are like, they've been in legendary fights themselves. Maybe they're not like the best fighters, but they've just been in these big moments. So it's another thing that's a little weird, but I feel like this one's going to be a really, really good fight that everybody and their grandmother, listen, this is a co-main for a reason. There's a title on the line for a reason. This one's going to be an absolute amazing fight. This is going to be a war. I think that we're going to see like blood, carnage. We're going to see two people. Listen, might butcher the name, but Weili Zhang versus Joanna Jędrzejczyk, I think I said that name correct. Is one of the
Good job.
I know, I tried. Is one of the best like fights I've ever seen. Like if someone's like, yo, what's this MMA stuff all about? I'm putting that one on. Like that one is one of the top 3 greatest performances I've ever seen in my life in terms of 2 people going to an absolute war, pulling everything that they have out of the bag to be able to get that victory. And they both put on an amazing performance. And Weili Zhang is showing you why it is that she's the champion. Now, Yan Xiaonan has a chance to prove that the up-and-comers have something to say.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of skill sets that do present some dangers to Weili Zhang. But I will say Weili Zhang is somebody that I see going in the UFC Hall of Fame. Her performances, man, listen, I'm not going to sit here and act like she hasn't taken a loss here or there. But I am going to tell you this. I think Rose Namajunas, as much as I enjoyed the win and I love the I'm the best, that was somewhat of a lucky shot, in my opinion. Like not in the sense of like, oh, she just threw it not knowing. She obviously practiced that a bunch. But that's one of those things where I like to give the example of like, if you put these 2 to fight 10 out of 10 times, how many times does a person win? I would say Weili Zhang right now beats Rose Namajunas clearly most of those times. I'll give her maybe 1 or 2. But I think this one's going to be an absolute war, and I think I got Weili Zhang on this one. I know we haven't really been picking, but
I know, right?
But
I've been close to
I'm a fan, man. I'm a fan. It's hard. It's hard when you watch these fighters so much. You're just like, I don't want to like pick one or the other. I just want to support them for the most part. There are some where I'll be like, I hope you die in that octagon.
You hear me when I'm watching it, like
Kobe
take
Covington
his
gets
head
heated,
off,
bro. Yeah.
That's what I take his head off.
It's a good one to have, bro. When they get them back and they get them on the arm like this, you just like, just do it.
Snap his neck.
But that one's gonna be a great one. And I'm honestly like, as a co-main, like, listen, there's like, they did the best job organizing like the layout of this fight card, and I think these last like. Listen, Bo Nickel, I'm excited for. Against Cody Brundage, I'm excited for it. But those last 4, Charles Oliveira versus Armin Sarukian, Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje. Then we got Weili Zhang versus Yan Xiaonan. And then, of course, our last one, ladies and gentlemen, the main event of the evening.
Let's go.
Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner. No. But we got Alex Pereira.
Yeah.
Working on it.
I'm going to say Pereira.
Hey, you stick true to you, man.
Whatever I feel comfortable.
So is it Jamal Hill or Jamahal?
I'm going to say Jamal Hill.
It's Jamal Hill, yeah. So we got Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill for the light heavyweight title. Listen, earlier I was talking a lot about the light heavyweight division being all over the place, but hear me out. Let me lay out this roadmap for you. So we had who was it? We had Glover Teixeira take the title from Jan Blachowicz, and it was an amazing thing to see somebody at the age of like 40 or whatever become the title holder, and it was amazing to see him as the champion. I love Glover. Shout out Glover. Shout out Connecticut, even though I'm not a big fan, but
not a fan.
The Brazilians in Connecticut, they know what they do with the MMA.
Yeah.
So then we have Glover Teixeira, who's the title holder, and then he goes into a 25-minute absolute war against Jamal Hill. And Jamal Hill manages to take that title away from him. So then he gets the title, right? Jamal gets injured and then has to relinquish the title. And then I believe
playing basketball.
Yeah, playing basketball. And then I believe Yuri Yuri fights and takes the title. Now Yuri has the title from Glover. And then after that, then we have Alex versus Yuri, and then Alex takes the title from Yuri, so now Alex is the title holder. All of that happened within like a year and a half. That was just like bing, boom, bing, boom, bing, boom, bing, boom. Like way too much movement, like not a consistent, like dominant champion. Jamal Hill wanted to be the guy to be, I'm reigning it. I'm the guy that's running this show. I will take on any and all comers and I will knock you down and I will keep this belt. Fortunately, he was hooping with the boys. He got caught up. Apparently he was hooping with a bunch of other fighters, which I think is really funny that they be out here hooping like that. But
that's like, what is...
They have their own league or something. Who knows? But, but they were hooping, and he unfortunately, I believe he tore. Let me see. I got it right here. He tore his Achilles tendon, which
is rough.
That's rough, man. That takes a long time to heal up. So for the fact that he's coming back as soon as he is, because like I think estimated he should have been out for another like 6 more months or so, something like that. In terms of like the average time to heal, granted, these are athletes. These are championship level athletes who have access to resources that the average person doesn't have. A lot of like treatment, physical therapy, etc. So, and he's also somebody who I would say is very hardworking, has that championship level mentality to push through whatever pain he's going through to get recovered. You know what I mean? So I want to have the thing of like, oh, he's coming in off of an injury, but at the same time, I'm like, he's got the dog in him. You gotta, yeah. I mean, I want to look past it. I want to, but I don't know. You know, you gotta think about it like, how much is that going to hinder his game? You put a lot of power on your feet when you're trying to swing. That's his thing.
I'm afraid it might like hinder his mind.
That's something I was talking about earlier with somebody. Do you think that, like, how much do you think that comes into play after you have an injury like that? Like, you come into these fights, like you think about it a lot, but it depends on what it is. I feel like if he's walking around on it, running, jumping, like exercising, I think he's kind of gotten over it. Versus you have stuff like the Chris Weidmans and the Anderson Silvas who have like absolutely snapped their leg in half in a fight.
Yeah.
You're a little bit more nervous, I would say, to throw a leg kick because it happened in the fight. Versus like you're out playing basketball, that's not your job. You're having fun. Now this is your job. You perform it a little bit differently. Maybe you don't have that same kind of thing. Now, do I think it might take away from your performance in the sense of like maybe it's not as strong as it was before? Maybe. I'm not a doctor, though.
I feel like it could affect it usually affects the hamstring. It's, you know,
that's why I'm saying I wonder how it's gonna show when it comes to him fighting. My thing with him though, he's got dynamite in those hands. So that's one of those where like at the light heavyweight division, there's a certain amount of people in there that are like heavyweights in the sense of like it really just takes one on the chin and you're going to bed. So Alex Pereira, listen, he's a savage. And he is a dominating force. He's also got, not talking about dynamite. He's got like weapons of mass destruction in both of these hands.
Mm-hmm. Especially that left hook.
That left hook is crazy. Man. So with him, he's
a dog.
He is a dog. He is a dog. I mean, kickboxing champion, middleweight champion, now light heavyweight champion, and talks of going up to heavyweight to become a champion there.
That's
and
nuts.
I think he can do it.
That's what I was just talking about.
He's
That's
like
what I'm saying.
6'4", like 230 something on a regular Wednesday. That boy is huge. He could for sure be heavyweight. Heavyweight is 225 to 265. So depending on how you fight, like the 265s, like let's be honest, those real heavy boys, you just have to watch out for their hands because they have a lot of power. But they're not really moving as quick as you would think. So you got to worry about more of the quicker guys that are a little lighter, the 225s, 235, around there. But everybody else, you should be all right. Like John Jones, I don't even think fights that heavy.
Right now, I don't think so.
At least not even right now. No, at heavyweight, and he moves around a lot quicker. But Alex, I feel like man, you want to talk about a dominating champion? That's somebody. Like there's like the only thing that I have with this fight is that I feel like there is the puncher's chance for Jamahal Hill to just clip him and get him out of there. But I feel like Alex, the leg kicks, the head kicks, the hooks, the straights, the footwork,
his feints.
Bro, the man is so just good. Like a presence. He's just a dominating force all over the place. Now, ground game, we haven't really seen a lot of that out of him. Jamahal Hill is good at wrestling, in my opinion, in the sense of like, I've seen him go up against guys like Glover who are known for their wrestling and be able to either take down or have really good takedown defense, you know what I mean? And then get it back to where he wants the fight to be on the clinch, whether it be in the middle of the cage, up against the cage. Like, he's good. He does a good job. So I feel like there's a world where I see, like we're talking about, injury affecting his brain. He's like, I'm a wrestle. And there's a different game that we haven't seen out of Alex. So how does it go from there? And that one's going to be one of the biggest fights of the night. That again,
you know he's going to throw so many leg kicks on that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Achilles.
dude,
Sure.
like if you don't, like you're dumb. I would feel like you got to be like immediately off rip. I'm slapping that leg as fast as I can.
Yeah,
and I'm letting
yeah.
you know this is not going to be a fun night for you, bro.
Will
Like,
that have him overthinking?
yeah, and then on top of that, Alex is known for how fast his leg kicks are that you can't even like tell. Like he throws them without like a wind up. He just is like, and they hit so hard, like it sounds like a baseball bat hitting a wood tree, bro. Like, so I feel like that one's gonna be an exciting one. And like I was saying earlier, man, how do you pick a fight of the night? But we're gonna try. So, guys. What do we think? Now that we've gone through the entire UFC 300 card, and like I said, it is a good one.
Yeah.
What do we think? What's your guys' fight of the night? Looking at all the fights that we've talked about from the beginning to the end. It could be early prelim, main card. What are you thinking?
H.E. Holloway.
I was just about to say that one.
I know, and that's why that is the right answer. Listen, as much as I was on my horse earlier about Charles Oliveira versus Arman Tsarukyan, like I said, they're fighting back and forth for number one. It's 1 and 2 back and forth. But you can't lie. That one's gonna be so good.
Yeah.
It's gonna be so good, bro. Max Holloway, I
he's gonna
feel
go-
like I think he's got it. Now we'll talk about picks.
We can talk about picks.
Let's get into this. Let's get into this nitty gritty. Listen, I got Max Holloway on that one. Listen, I think it's gonna be a war. I think it's gonna be an absolute war. I think it ends in a finish.
Plus
Personally.
195.
I think parlay.
That's a good one to put your money on.
All right, so let's get this parlay going.
yeah.
I got Max Holloway on that one.
Yeah.
I got. Let's see. It's Charles Oliveira, Arman Tsarukyan. I'll give Charles on that one.
Yeah, right? If you had like one with like Max Holloway, Charles Oliveira's underdog of plus 170. What else?
Should we do something safe?
A safe one for sure.
I'll say Weili Zhang versus Yan Xiaonan over 2.5 rounds.
Okay.
I'll throw that out there. Over 2.5 rounds.
That's a good one. I like that.
Alex versus Jamahal. What do we think? Over under 3. Under 3. I got under 3. You think that makes it over 3 rounds?
I don't know.
You think that makes it over 3
No,
rounds?
it probably doesn't.
Jamal's Sweet Dreams Hill. There's a reason they call him Sweet Dreams, bro. You see that Johnny Walker knockout? There's a reason they call him Sweet Dreams, bro.
He felt like this.
He did the whole the lean back and
Yeah,
the
that
hands
was
went up in the
crazy.
air. I was like,
Delayed reaction. He hit
bro,
him so
it looked
fucking
so
hard. He
goofy.
didn't even know
but
when to
then
react to it.
and then Alex knocked out Izzy.
Yeah.
Flying Need. I forgot what that dude's name, but he flying Need that dude.
Saw that fight. Yeah, that was brutal.
Sean Strickland clipped him out of existence.
Yeah,
He
that was
lulled
got
into
him
that left
out of
hook,
there.
man. All the feints he
Yeah.
had, because Sean has that Philly shell style.
Yeah.
All those feints, he had that opening for the left hook. He lulled him right into it.
Yuri Prohaska got him out of there. Same thing, left hook. Yo, Jamal better watch out for that left hook.
He has to.
So I would definitely, I'll do Alex Pereira, put him in there.
All right, bet. I got Kayla Harrison beating Holly Holm. I'll give it to Zig.
Yeah.
Don't money line. We'll do money line.
Yeah, we'll do money line. They don't
We'll do
got
money
they don't
line.
got the odds for that one yet.
We'll do
but,
anything.
like,
We'll do anything crazy. We'll do money line on Kayla Harrison. And now I'm just giving. You don't got to put this all on a parlay, but I'm just gonna give you some of the picks that I got. Let's see. We got Calvin Kattar, Aljamain Sterling. I got Aljamain Sterling. As much as I think Calvin Kattar is gonna give him a lot of work, I do feel like the ground game is just too strong from Aljo. Like they call him like the human backpack for like a reason. The guy gets you, he gets you. You know what I mean? So I'm intrigued to see how that one goes. But I feel like I got Aljamain Sterling on that one.
I got Sterling as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Man,
And I really like Cater.
Yeah.
Kattar,
It'll suck to see if he loses, but Aljo is just very, very good on the ground.
Bobby Green, Jim Miller. Do we think Jim Miller gets the dub on UFC 300?
I want to say yes, man.
I'm gonna go with Bobby Green on this one.
Man, I gotta go with Bobby King Green.
I don't think that last him getting knocked out is gonna affect him.
He'll come in there like it's another day.
Exactly.
Like I feel like he's one that he really like. He understands the fight game and he knows that like that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
You can't. Not everybody goes in there fully unscathed. Like you can't walk out of there thinking that you're gonna be this amazing dude.
Minus 205 for Bobby Green.
It's a good one, man. It's a good one. There's so many. All right. And then last question I'm going to ask before we get out of here, guys. Going over everything we went over, a big question that everybody had a couple weeks ago with 299 and 300. do we think that 300 is living up to the hype as of right now? The fight hasn't happened yet. It's next week, but do we think it's living up?
I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it's living up to it all the way through.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Comparing it to 299 was a lot because 299 had a lot of really good fights on there. But man, there's something about like the way that the UFC just puts on these promotions, and I don't mean to be nut hugging the fucking UFC this much, but god damn, bro, you gotta admit they do their work, and I just feel like this one is gonna get me excited. I say everybody, call out of work. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you work at a hospital and you're in an emergency room, you're driving, the ambulance, whatever emergency services you may be, quit your job.
Yeah.
UFC 300 is more important than that. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, you'll figure it out after.
I've been your host with the most, Juan the Bread, Juan, you know what I mean, out here, Uneducated MMA. Here with my co-workers. Oh, heavyweight champion, ladies and gentlemen, by the way. Heavyweight champion, REG.
Let's go.
And then thank you again, Matt, for joining us, man. It's been a pleasure. Listen, anytime you want to come back, like I said, 100%. At the beginning of the show, I'm looking for the degenerates. I'm looking for the scumbags. I'm looking for the ones that are up at 3 a.m. watching bare knuckle boxing on YouTube. Shout out Street Beefs. If you know what Street Beefs is, you deserve to sit in this chair because you're a scumbag. This has been Uneducated MMA. Thank you. We out.